Impressions of the session, and we've been to it with a lot of your colleagues, and now that we've kind of got two sessions under our belt this year, I would just love to hear your thoughts, your impression of the session 2017. Feel free, you can just take as long or be as brief as you want on what your impression of the session was. Go ahead.
Well, we had some very positive things, and then we had some disappointments. I was disappointed that as a Republican majority that we, kept our expanded Medicare program. It's just, it will end up bankrupting us. And, I think it was Ronald Reagan that said that we measure the success of government by the amount of people that's not dependent on government. And, we regretfully continue the expanded Medicaid. We did have some tax cuts, but we had some tax increases. One of the ways we gave a tax cut to the military is to raise taxes in other areas. So we defeated some areas where they were wanting to increase taxes, and I voted against the increases of taxes. Like the internet sales. First of all, I think that's an interstate commerce. I think that's a federal issue and not a state issue, because I can't imagine another state passing a law that I have to know about and that I have to be accountable to them for, and I have no representation. So I oppose that, and I understand those that did. It probably does need to happen. It just doesn't need to be happen on a state level.
We're talking again with State Representative Mickey Gates, and what you just said it mirrors a lot of what some of your colleagues have said on the program. Is about basically this concept that we have massive Republican majorities down there, and yet some of the key pillars of the Republican Party platform, like not increasing taxes, kind of seem to be ignored, not by people like you and others, but by the leadership. It seems like the folks who are in the pulling the strings, who are in the Republican Party leadership, that they're kind of allergic to some of these key pillars that people run to get elected on. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I agree with that. I think that's key. I was sitting in county government for 20 years on the Garland County Quorum Court, and in those 20 years, the only tax increases we had were the ones that people themselves voted for. We were able to live within our means. It didn't mean that we didn't cut. It didn't mean that we didn't, change some of the things that we were providing, that we quit providing. But it's not incumbent on government to provide for everybody and to meet every whim that we want. And, I support people being able to, communities to be able to raise their taxes if they voted on themselves. That's not the same as taxation without representation or taxed another already. If a group of people want to raise their taxes on themselves, let them do so. But, I just think we have a better way, and I think we have things that we could cut and reduce before we go to the voter and say, by the way, we raised your taxes.
What are your thoughts on the, I guess, some of the budget shortfalls? The way I remember this happening was you guys went ahead and, recessed for 4 weeks before Usani died. And after that happened, the couple days after you guys went into recess, we find out that the month of March, the revenue coming in wasn't going to be very, very good. We're going to have a shortfall. And then we find out later the governor needs to cut $70 million from this fiscal year and another $43 million from the next fiscal year. And then you look at the spending increases we have had the last 3 years in the state budget, and yet we had people say that we don't have a spending problem, we have a revenue problem. What do you say?
Well, it's a mixture of both, to be honest. It's just like we look at our highways. We've had the same tax per gallon forever. For as long as I can remember. We've had it a long, long time, and but revenues are flat. Why? We have more economical cars, so they're getting better gas mileage. we have electric cars that pay $0 to maintain the roads, and then we have compressed gas, and there's not a charge on compressed gas for maintaining our roads. So those that use gas and diesel are footing the bill for everything else, and that's where we're kind of subsidizing, encouraging people to go to other energy sources. That's not right. That needs to be equitable. We don't know how to do that yet. We don't know how do you equitably charge somebody that drives an electric car that tears up the roads? How do we equitably charge them since, it's you plug your car in at your house. It's not like you have to go fill it up somewhere. So we don't have an equitable way of doing that other than maybe charging them by the mile or a yearly surcharge. But it doesn't seem fair that those of us who drive gasoline or diesel vehicles have to subsidize everybody else.
Okay, so you certainly have addressed, we have revenue shortfalls here and there, but, do we have a spending problem? We've increased $133 million in 2015, $142 million in 2016, and then this next year, $165 million increase. What are your thoughts on that?
We do, but here's after 23 years of government and being involved, just like most people's budgets increase each year, hopefully their income increases, but the cost of living does go up every year. When minimum wage goes up, well, everybody's it's not just the people making minimum wage goes up, because if minimum wage goes up from $8 to $9, those that currently making $9 are, after a wage increase and you're paying the $8, now you're paying them $9. All the people at $9 don't think that's fair, so they got to have a pay increase, and now you pay them $10, and the $10. So cost of employees goes up, taxes go up, matching goes up, insurance goes up. All these constant variables that are increasing due to inflation go up, and population, more people being serviced, and you have more people being serviced. You have more births, you have more deaths, you have more needs. You have to have people that meet those needs. And some of the ways that we can curb that is making things available online so that we require less people to take that increasing burden. And so some of that can be relieved by investing in more technology and better technology. But, Arkansas is one of those states that is growing, and we're growing, I think we're growing, 7% every 10 years? So it's the cost of government's always going to go up. But we do have a spending problem in the fact that we're paying for things that government shouldn't be in the business of.
Well, you mentioned in your opening statement that you're worried that Medicaid expansion may bankrupt us. Our share of Medicaid this year is pretty significant, and I'm reading stories today that prisons are really worried. They're about to have a meeting with the governor to try to ask, that some of these cuts don't happen. Is that directly attributed to the fact that we're now going to have to pay, $100 million for our share this year?
Part of it, yes. We have a cost already, but when you increase people's dependence on government, sadly that has a lot to do with Obamacare in general. And it's mandates to the states, mandates to people. I know my daughter's insurance went up and has worse insurance. She's complaining to me, Dad, why did this happen? I said, because not enough people got in there and fought to keep it from happening to start with. Mm-hmm. And that's the problem when we put people in office that sometimes say one thing and then sometimes do another. And it's tough. It's tough when you're trying to hold the line. Sometimes that's tough when you see the current going another way. But we need to find enough people that are willing to stand against the tide and say we're not going to go that direction.
Yeah.
So, but on the upside, there were some good things got passed. We had some good child maltreatment changes in our laws. There's a lot of things that we need to do. So I can't say I'm totally discouraged, but we have a lot of room for improvement. We have things that we need to get changed. We had some bills that we've Senator Clark, I know, has tried for 4 years. I tried 2 years ago and this year on charitable donations. When companies donate items to nonprofits, the state wants us to collect the sales tax from them at the retail value of that they gave away. And we were appalled when Louisiana sent Tyson Chicken a tax bill. After Hurricane Katrina, Tyson, in their generosity, donated a tractor-trailer load of chickens. And then the state of Louisiana charged them the sales tax on their gift.
Wow.
So, you know, and the state of Arkansas does exactly the same thing. So if you own a business like I do and you donate an item to a nonprofit, for instance, if you're in the lumber company and you donate items, some lumber to Habitat for Humanity or a food pantry, you have to charge them the sales tax on the value of whatever you gave to them. So, you know, we've tried to change that, but we get from DF&A, it costs too much. It costs too much. I tried to get a bill through this last session that said the state of Arkansas can't audit you past 7 years. Like the IRS can only audit you past, 7 years. And I tried to get a bill that said we will not audit anybody past 7 years. And that failed.
Boy, I
because
bet
it would cost us too much money. And I'm thinking, yeah, speed traps. If you stop the speed traps, that'll cost you money.
How many
But
people are
stop
they?
the speed traps.
Honestly, how many people are they auditing past 7 years? That can't be. I mean,
oh, trust me, I speak from personal experience. Regretfully, personal experience. And when they audit you, if for instance, if you have a credit card receipt in your business, like I have an S corporation, so all the profits flow from the corporation to the owners. Well, if you have a credit card receipt, and this is a real life experience, I had a credit card receipt for $1,500 from a lumber place, and that I had bought over the weekend for some cabinets to be built at my office, storage cabinets, $1,500. Well, in my audit in year 10, they saw that, okay, yes, it was a debit card. We see on your bank statement you spent $1,500. But on the credit card receipt, we can make out the name of the company and the amounts. It could be $1,500, it could be $1,300. They knew it was at least $1,000 something. But we couldn't tell what I purchased. Therefore, it was considered a personal expense. I owed the tax, interest, and penalty on that one ticket. Was a $1,500 ticket, so I owed the tax, interest, and penalties for 10 years.
Well, I will say
that's just on one ticket.
That's ridiculous, and we're talking with State Representative Mickey Gates. But on that, we just found out today the governor's press conference. He's announcing my idea. If anybody has any ideas to streamline government, you can call the number, and it's being staffed by Department of Finance and Administration employees. So,
yeah, well,
you might want to submit that idea.
Well, here's what I found out, being the novice that I am. I've gone through 2 sessions. Now, here's what I've come to after this conclusion. I've got to be involved in the budget process in the fall for the next year's budget, because when you come in as a legislator in the next time with your idea and it has any impact to the general, we can't afford it, it's not in the budget. Well, how do we know? Well, because the budget's already determined.
Yeah.
So we've already determined the budget before we've ever, legislators have passed their bill. So I've learned that I've got to do due diligence and go to the budget and sit on there and get my 2 cents and fight for my tax cuts in advance. Otherwise, I know it ain't going to happen.
Yeah, you're exactly right. It certainly is. It seems to be a complex and exclusive process, and it prohibits legislators, I feel like, from actually being able to represent their people in a legislative session.
Especially newbies.
Yeah, and that's
if you're not elected till November and the budget is pretty much all the budget hearings have already been done, then you don't don't have an input. You don't have an input.
And that's just going to help the power of incumbency and concentrating power as well. So that's really interesting. You mentioned taxes. Got one more question, and we're running out of time. We're talking with State Representative Mickey Gates. So we've got this task force that's everybody put all of their tax legislation for the very reasons that you just said about the budget. No one wanted to actually pursue real tax reform now with the full 135-member body to submit amendments and actually try to find common ground. Instead, we get a separate, smaller group of legislators, special ones, who are going to be on this task force. And and my fear is this, and you tell me if you share this fear, and Governor kind of confirmed it in a story the other day where he said that it doesn't necessarily mean tax cuts, is that that their mentality will be that we have to have the same level of money coming into the government that we have now, if not more. And the reason I have that thought is because back during the veterans tax cut, that was a $13 million impact to the budget, and he said that would not be the conservative thing to do, just to absorb that $13 million to give the tax cut. If that's the mentality on everything else, but we have to protect government at all costs, I don't have just a ton of confidence that we're going to actually see net tax cuts, which means less money going to Little Rock. What are your thoughts, Mickey Gates?
I'm an optimist. I hope the tax reform, I wanted to be on it. I'm not one of the chosen ones. Congratulations to those who do. Here's my biggest fear. My biggest fear is we're going to figure out how to tweak our system. We do not need a tweak. We need an overhaul. We need a transplant. And we need to have a system that keep the system we have. And one day, maybe not. Maybe we need to phase it in. But we have to have a system to totally revamp the way we tax things, the way we it's just like, when I needed something to say, oh, well, you need to get legislation. This is before I was a legislator. Oh, you need to get legislation passed that, just get your representative to present a bill. It's got your name on it or your specific problem. And I'm sitting here going, why? Why would it be specific for me? Why don't, if it's good, if a tax break is good or tax deduction or whatever it is that we're doing is good for one, why isn't it good for all? And so I'm concerned that we're going to try to tweak our system, and if all we try to do is tweak the system, it's just like not getting to the source. It's like trying to treat a cancer. Are we trying to treat the ugliness of the wound, or are we trying to get the cancer? And if we're gonna make Arkansas competitive and healthy, we have to change our whole idea of what's reasonable, what's right, what's equitable, and let's go that route.
State Representative Mickey Gates, I appreciate your impression of the session 2017. Thank you so much for coming on.
Well, thanks for the invitation. Thank you.
All righty. Be safe, sir. Folks, we got to take a break. The Liberty Machine rolls on back in just a moment.
This is Common Sense and Liberty. I'm Donnie Copeland. The Republican Party of Arkansas has something called a platform, and it's basically what they believe. Things like lower taxes, right to own and bear arms, encouraging individual responsibility and initiative. Yet in this legislative session, we see Republicans fighting against the right to own and bear arms by amending over and over the campus carry bill. We see instead of lowering taxes and fees being raised 8 different times. We see the attack against individual responsibility and initiative by continuing to embrace Obamacare, Medicaid expansion called Arkansas Works.